Now, are magic's biggest secrets finally revealed.
To begin, the masked magician will attempt an illusion with this very official and very imposing armored bomb squad vehicle. Borrowed, of course, from the city's finest. To prove that it's real, he walks around the truck. Careful to point out the emergency barricades that have been set up behind it. No one dare approach this from the rear, lest they be crossing an official police line. His assistants enter, carrying 2 more regulation barriers for the front and back of the vehicle. He doesn't want this truck going anywhere. Or does he? While the assistants flank the corners of the truck, the magician calls for a large curtain to be lowered in front of the entire scene. There are the wheels of the truck, and the legs. The girls are still there. Let's check the alignment on the front end. Yep, the wheels are still there, and look carefully for the legs. What would the masked man do without his assistance? Keep your eye on the wheels of the truck. Remember, this is one continuous shot. No camera tricks are involved. The curtain lowers to completely cover the vehicle, and the magician summons for it to rise. It's gone! So where did the 3-ton vehicle go? He steps into the place where it was once parked to prove it's vanished into thin, slightly smoky air. The masked magician has done the impossible yet again. But this is one crime scene that bears investigation. How did the masked magician make a 3-ton bomb squad vehicle disappear without a trace? Here are the secrets. The armored bomb squad vehicle is a genuine truck, but I can assure you there is no armor plating. When we open the door, you can see that its interior has been stripped clean. Everything is gone, including the polyester carpet and rubber mats. Even the engine has been removed in order to make the vehicle as light as possible. We'll show you why in a minute. The magician never bothers to show us the inside of the car. The flashing police lights on top and the phony emblem on the side are all it takes to make it look like the real thing. The police barricades add the final touch of authenticity. The girls add another level of distraction. With the barricades in place, it looks like the car can't drive away, even if it could, but it won't need to. Hanging directly above are 4 heavy-duty steel aircraft cables. When the magician motions for the curtain to be lowered, the cables are simultaneously lowered behind it. The curtain stops just above the wheels. This allows the magician a chance to distract the audience from what is really going on behind the curtain. Here's the view you don't see. The cables connect to 4 points that have been securely welded to the vehicle. 2 in front and 2 more in the rear. These hooks have been painstakingly positioned for proper balance. Once the curtain is lowered, the 4 beautiful assistants grab the cables and attach them to the secret hooks. They do this as quickly as possible, so that from the front, the audience doesn't know anything devious is going on above those lovely legs. These super strong cables are attached to a powerful winch, which is hidden high in the rafters. The curtain lowers, and here's another secret. Hidden in the wings is a stagehand who operates the winch. He flips a switch, and the vehicle begins to rise. Even with the guts removed, this baby still weighs more than a ton, so you can bet that winch has been selected for double capacity. The truck rises just a foot or 2 above the bottom of the curtain, and the rest of the lifting is simultaneous. The vehicle is suspended just behind the curtain, so the audience assumes it has vanished. Without the curtain in place, You can see that it's merely being lifted into the air by the 4 steel cables. The girls surround the magician, and the audience has been fooled again. What a life. The magician...
And much more, right now on Magic's Biggest Secrets Finally Revealed.
For his first illusion, the magician will present one of Magic's deadliest escapes. Here's a reminder. Never attempt any of the magician's dangerous escapes at home. Everyone you see on your screen is a trained professional. Now that the assistants are finished filling the steel drum, the magician wraps on the side and bottom to prove that it's solid. But this tank is only half of what will prove to be a very dangerous illusion. His assistants return with another drum. This one is also solid. And it's empty. We'll get back to this drum in a minute. Right now, it's time to add some sex appeal. It doesn't get much sexier than this. The magician's assistant shows off her latest outfit, suitable for the pool, beach, or perilous illusion. I hope she realizes it's about to get wet. For her sake, the fabric better not shrink. The girl climbs the ladder to get into the upper barrel. She's about to find out if the water is cold, and so are we. Go ahead, honey. Take a dip. Must be room temperature. Now that she's soaking wet, she's ready to take on the deadly challenge. She inhales deeply, then exhales as she prepares for the big dunk. She's under the water. As an experiment, hold your breath to see how long you'd be able to stay underwater if you were in her swimsuit. A metal lid is clamped into place. In this illusion, the masked magician will attempt to transport his assistant out of the water-filled steel drum into a second drum that will be suspended beneath it. But that's only if she can survive being submerged underwater with no air supply. The assistants converge on the scene to help clamp the second drum beneath the one holding the girl. Are you still holding your breath? She'd better be, or that tank will become a watery tomb. The second drum is now secure, and there's still no sign of the girl. There are no signs of struggle or screams for help as the magician surveys the steel contraption from all sides. He gives his magic commands and draws our attention to the tank on top. Now the one below. Is he trying to tell us something? There's no way for the girl to get from one solid drum into the other, not without a blowtorch and 50 gallons of water crashing down onto the stage. Maybe he can give her some magical assistance. He orders the lid be removed, so let's get a good look inside. But I think we'd notice her body if she was in there. She's vanished. But if she's not here, where could she be? Maybe it's worth looking into the bottom tank. The assistants go about opening up the clamps and removing the drum. If she's inside, I'm gonna have to eat my words. Let's watch what happens. she is, too good to believe. And so is this trick. The masked magician has pulled one over on us again. So how does the beautiful girl get sealed in a tank of water, make a dramatic escape, and reappear minutes later in a completely dry tank? Here are the secrets. When the girl first climbs into the top drum, she displaces some of the water with her body. Well, that's one way to put it to good use. She sinks down into the water and stands up, presumably to allow herself to take a few deep breaths. What you don't know is that the water in the tank is being pumped out through a tube that is hidden in the innocent-looking metal frame. The tube runs inside this steel support arm to a hose that runs off stage. The hose is connected to a high-power water pump and storage barrel. The pump is operated by a concealed stagehand. This high-power device is capable of pumping 50 gallons of water in a matter of seconds. The stagehand opens a valve and starts the pump, which instantly begins to suck the water out of the tank. As the water level begins to drop, the girl slinks down into the tank so that the lid can be secured. As you can see from above, about 6 inches of water have already been pumped out, barely enough room for her to breathe. Since hundreds of magicians and assistants have lost their lives performing water escapes, an additional breathing tube has been concealed in the lid, just in case something should go wrong. Whenever magicians attempt to pull off death-defying tricks like this, they always build safety features into their designs. This tube and hidden air hole are added protection in the event of an emergency. While the girl is in the upper drum, the lower one is clamped into place. This is when she pulls a concealed hose from the support frame and uses it to suck out the remaining water. Remember, the pump is powerful, so it makes quick work of draining the last few gallons of water. The assistants take extra time to secure the lower tank, giving the girl on top a few extra moments to vacuum up the water and slide the hose back into its secret hole. But since the bottom of the drum was solid and held all that water and the girl, how does she get into the drum below? The tank above has a watertight false bottom that is held in place by a rubber gasket and the weight of the water. With the water drained out, she easily breaks the seal and removes the false bottom. It's a tight squeeze, but the girl has just enough room to slip down into the lower tank. This arrow indicates her path, as if you couldn't figure out she's going from the top to the bottom. Here's how it looks from inside the tank. Once she's carefully dropped herself down into the lower drum, all she has to do is reach up and replace the false bottom. Without the lower drum in place, she's happy to show us how easy it is. But the top tank was still full of water when the lid was removed. That's where the pump comes back into play. The stagehand reopens the valve and reverses the pump. This draws all of the water back out of the storage barrel and replaces it in the upper drum. Now all that's left to do is to remove the lower drum and allow the girl to make her stunning reveal. A little damp, but lovely as ever.
Up next, the secret to tipping a box upside down.
The magician will attempt to cheat death one more time as he takes on the spinning blades of this giant turbo fan. The fan is positioned in a framework and behind a protective canvas shield that will prevent others from harm and to save us from a gruesome sight should anything go wrong. You're looking at an actual turbofan that is capable of slicing a human to pieces in a matter of seconds. The assistants enter to give the magician the help and encouragement he needs to perform this dangerous trick. On his command, they open the protective shield to reveal the razor-sharp blades. Remember, this is a professionally trained world-class magician. Do not attempt this or any other illusions at home. You can see that there is room in the framework behind the fan. Keep your eyes on the magician. He steps up into the frame so he's standing directly behind the spinning blades. Not the safest place to be, but the object is for the magician to defy a horrifying death. The assistants close the shield and bolt it into place, carefully sealing the canvas. He's ready. There go the lights. And there he is, still standing behind the deadly blades. But what's this? He seems to be pushing his hand through the spinning blades and out of the canvas shield. Yet the turbo fan is still spinning. He pulls his hand back through. I must be seeing things because that is impossible. The lights go out again, and the girls enter. They unbolt the front of the frame and open the shield. And there is the masked man, standing behind the rotating blade, still in one piece. There's no way for him to have passed his arm through the canvas without being sliced to pieces. It must be an illusion. The frame is bolted shut one more time, and the canvas shield is sealed. Let's see what happens. The girls back away to a safe distance as the magician gets ready. There go the lights. They're back on in an instant. Maybe that turbo fan is causing a power shortage. No matter. We can clearly see the shadow of the magician on the shield. But that's not a shadow. That's really his hand. And now his foot. That's no illusion. He should be shredded by now, yet he continues to pass through that fan as if it weren't even there. He's out, and the fan keeps spinning away. The magician has challenged death yet again, and won. Good job, Masked Man. I'm truly your biggest fan.
Up next, the incredible secret behind walking through an
We just saw the masked magician walk through the spinning blades of an industrial turbofan and survive. So how does the magician pass through the razor-sharp blades of the fan without being sliced and diced like a mountain of coleslaw or a mound of julienne fries? The secret is a matter of mechanics and split-second timing. First of all, the blades of the fan are real and they are very sharp. But you know by now that when a magician prevents you from seeing something, that something is the secret. But he's not making the magic happen. This guy is. From this angle, we can see that the frame around the fan is built to allow the fan to slide back and forth. When the stagehand pulls on the cables, a concealed pulley system moves the fan closer to or further from the canvas. The next secret is in the lighting. Two different spotlights are cleverly focused so that the shadow of the fan is exactly the same size whether it's closer to the canvas shield or farther away. Here the fan is positioned close to the canvas. When the spotlight goes out, the fan is moved back, and the next spotlight comes on, but the shadow looks precisely the same. From the front, you can see the shadow appears to be the same size. The magician waits for the light to go out, steps to the side of the frame as the fan moves back, and then steps in front of it before the next light comes on. Now that he is in front of the fan, he can safely pass his hand through the center seam without harm. The shadow makes it look like his arm is crossing the dangerous blades. From this angle, you can see that he's merely standing in front of the rotating fan. See? No danger at all, as long as he doesn't lean back. But how did he get back behind the revolving blades by the time the frame was opened? Simple. When the light goes out, he just steps to the side and reverses the process when the fan slides forward. The lights come back on, and he looks like he's standing exactly where he started. Then it all happens again one more time. The lights go out, the magician sneaks around the fan, and when the lights come back on, he splits the seam and steps through. The audience thinks he's magically walking through the twirling fan. And there you have enough secrets to make your head spin.
Next time, the Masked Magician returns.
Now that she's inside, we're deprived of her ravishing good looks. So the magician opens a peephole for us to see what we're missing. She's not that happy to see us. Maybe she knows what's coming. Now, for her left hand and a little wave. What a tease. And down at the bottom, her right foot. The fishnets are a nice touch. Let's hope we can see them again, along with the legs that go with them. Before things get dangerous, we have to say goodbye to the pretty lady. See you soon. But the magician knows we need someone to look at, so here comes another girl. This one is bearing gifts. 2 razor-sharp stainless steel blades. If you're playing along at home, you probably figured that the blades would be inserted into the cabinet, and the girl inside. Usually when a blade goes into a body, the insides come outside. Let's hope that doesn't happen here. That's one blade. Now for number 2. This one is at the right height to separate the fishnets from the rest of her. With a little luck, this will only be a trial separation. As if the girl in the box hasn't had enough abuse, the magician slides the center of the cabinet to one side, dividing up her assets. Let's see if the girl is still inside, and what condition her condition is in. Beautiful as ever, and still breathing in and out, as impossible as that seems. Let's see if the rest of her is fully operational. The hand seems to be functioning and ready to be used for its intended purpose. Now for the lower extremities. The foot is still there and the toes work. This is either one amazing trick or one messed up girl. The magician seems to agree, so he slides the center section back in place. But remember, even with her middle back where it belongs, the girl is still divided by the steel blades. Until now. There goes the top blade. Now to head downstairs for the bottom one. Time to check the damage. No marks on her face, but she doesn't seem too thrilled, so let's let her out. There she is, still in one magnificent piece and an equally magnificent two-piece. Now that's a great trick. So, How did the magician slice his beautiful assistant in 3 sections right before our very eyes, only to put her back in one stunning piece? The secret is also right before our eyes. When the magician slides the center section of the box to the side, we're not looking through the cabinet, we're looking at a mirror. There is a screen set up to the right of the box that is identical to the screen behind the box. The mirror creates an image that fills in the center of the box that is an exact duplicate of what we think is behind the box. So from the front, it appears that we are looking right through the box to the screen behind. When it appears that her middle is being dragged off to one side, it's actually staying in the same place, right behind the mirror. From behind, we see that there is just enough space for the girl to hide. But what about the sharp steel blades that were pushed into the box? They look solid, but they're really just flexible sheet metal. When the magician inserts the top blade, the girl inside the box is simply bending it down away from her torso. When he inserts blade number 2, the girl is gracefully bending it out of the way with her leg. See it coming down from behind the mirror? This allows her room to stick her foot out of the hole when the magician opens the little door. Now for the next secret. How does the center of her body appear to move to the side along with the center of the box? After all, we saw her left hand through the hole. That's all she was willing to show us. The cabinet has a secret trap door inside that gives the girl access to the hole. When the center section has been pulled out to the side, she reaches her left arm across her body through the secret panel and sticks her hand out of the hole. From the front, the illusion that the girl's midsection has been removed is pretty convincing. All the magician has to do now is reverse the process and let her come out for air. Much to her relief, and ours. Another beautiful girl who stays that way, with the help of a mirror.
Next, the magician exposes the astonishing secrets. Next, the magician attempts a perilous escape. Will he make it out alive before he's sliced to ribbons by the rotating blades of death?
For his last illusion tonight, the magician will take on one of the most death-defying escapes ever attempted. Remember, never try to duplicate any of the magician's tricks at home. This is a very perilous stunt that our world-class professional has been practicing for months. As we can see, giant steel blades provide the danger in this illusion. This triangular-shaped box will provide the magician's prison. The razor-sharp blades are held at the ends of the steel rails by a rope. Inside the box is a beautiful assistant, but she'd be crazy to stay inside because that box is directly in the path of those terrifying blades. The magician releases a safety cable on one of the blades. Now things are getting dangerous. Next, he crosses over to release the cable on the other blade. Now a single rope is holding the blades in place. Again, do not attempt anything like this at home. The magician climbs into the box and the door is closed. His assistants secure his hands on the outside of the box. His wrists are locked with heavy chains and bulletproof locks. With his hands shackled on either side of the box, the magician has no way to reach the chains or pick the locks. His goal will be to escape before the blades travel down the rails and into the box, slicing him to ribbons. the blades begin to rotate. He struggles with the chains. Better hurry, those blades won't wait. Next, the other assistant returns with a torch. She uses the torch to set fire to the rope. When it burns through, the blades will be sent crashing into the box and the magician. His hands are free, but he's not out. There they go. They slammed into the box, and he didn't get out in time. They're still spinning. All hope of escape is now lost. The executioner is back to open the box. This won't be pretty. He's gone. Where did he go? Right here, of course. The magician is turned into the executioner, safe and sound, with his beautiful girls by his side. How did he do it? Here are the secrets. At the start of the illusion, the magician reveals an assistant inside the triangular box. This is to show that there isn't much room inside the box. But there is room, and she wasn't alone. Hidden behind this false panel is the magician's body double. He's in place before the magician ever steps inside. When we see the magician climb into the cabinet, he's really just slipping out through the back. From behind, we can see him sneak out, leaving his double inside. The double then slides back to replace the magician, and it's his hand we see being shackled and chained. Next, the double flips a switch to activate the blades. Then his other hand is locked in place, and the audience thinks the magician is secured in the cabinet and struggling to escape. Meanwhile, the magician is being wheeled off stage inside the staircase the assistants use to reach the top of the box. With the spinning blades and flaming torches, the audience doesn't even notice that the girls are taking the staircase off stage. Next, the executioner enters to light the rope and add some danger. Off stage, the magician is slipping into an identical executioner's robe. Now, while the rope is burning, we see the double slip out of the manacles. But how? He simply slides his hands out of the chains and into the box, because the chains have been rigged. The metal frame that holds the chains contains a spring-loaded pulley, which allows him to slide the chains out, releasing enough slack to slip his hands through. The audience thinks they see the flames burn through the rope, sending the blades into the box. But inside, it's really the double pulling a ripcord and releasing the blades. The burning rope is just for dramatic effect. But how does the double escape being sliced to shreds by the blades? With the front of the box open, we can see that the blades are carefully positioned to enter the front half of the box. Plenty of room. Next, the magician takes the torch from his assistant and returns to the stage. We don't even stop to think it's really him. He opens the box to reveal the blades, and we can't see the double behind the false panel. He removes the cloak and reveals himself as the executioner. He may have fooled you once, but he won't fool you with this one again, now that you know the secrets. First up tonight, the magician has a mysterious illusion using the old steamer trunk of the late, great Harry Houdini. He'll also use this empty wooden frame. We can see through it. And we can see that it's hinged along one side to form a sturdy support. Next, he calls in two of his beautiful assistants and asks for their support. They pick up a heavy wooden triangle that fits securely on the frame. Once it's in place, the triangle and frame form a low table. Thanks for the heavy lifting, girls. Your work here is done. For now. Now for Houdini's trunk. Whoa, careful, it's a priceless antique. And it's empty. This is the same trunk Houdini used on his voyages to perform in Europe. But I bet he never had a traveling companion like this one. She can go the distance. The magician asks her to step into the trunk. Remarkably, she does. I wish he'd tell us that secret. Next, he closes the lid. Then pulls the trunk to the side. Now he uses the trunk to step up onto the table. Houdini probably wouldn't be too pleased about that. He motions for one of his assistants to return with a large sheet. The magician opens the sheet eventually and shows us that there's nothing hidden inside. Now watch carefully. He holds the sheet in front of him and slowly raises it up. He lowers the sheet to prove he's still there. He raises the sheet again, and when he lowers it, he's not alone. It's the girl from the trunk, in case you didn't recognize her. But he checks her out just to be sure. And now for the trunk. One of the other assistants returns and opens it. Presto, another girl. An incredible illusion, and now this guy's got a full house. So how did the magician make one assistant disappear from Houdini's steamer trunk, reappear on the table, then conjure up another girl from inside the trunk? Here are the secrets. When the illusion begins, the magician shows us the trunk. The first secret is that hidden behind it is the girl who will appear later. She's on stage from the beginning of the trick. And, by the way, that's not really Houdini's trunk. We made that up because it sounded good. Next, the magician displays the wooden frame, making sure we can see through it. Hidden behind the frame is the next secret. Both halves contain hidden black roller shades. On each corner is a spring-loaded release catch. When the girls place the triangular top on the frame, the pressure trips the spring-loaded catches, and the black shades are released. The audience believes that they can still see through the frame, but they are really looking at the shades. The key is the black backdrop that matches the black shades. As the girls are distracting us with their exit, the concealed assistant slides from behind the trunk into the table. From behind, we can see how the trunk and table hide her from the audience as she sneaks inside. Now that she's no longer in the trunk, the magician is free to tip it over and show that it's empty. He tips it upright and invites his next assistant to join him. At this point, the girl on the table sneaks back out and carefully climbs into the trunk. From this angle, we can see how difficult it is for her to switch locations without being seen while climbing up and over the side of the open trunk. Next, the magician invites his new assistant to climb into the trunk. There's a secret here, too. She merely lifts her legs high, creating the illusion that she is climbing in, while really stepping behind the trunk and sinking to the floor. From behind, we can see how convincingly she mimes stepping inside the trunk. Now it's her turn to slide into the table. Yes. The magician slides the trunk away with the concealed girl inside. Next, the magician appears to teleport his assistant from the trunk to the table. He raises the sheet, and there she is. But how did she get there? She waits for the magician to raise the sheet the first time and climbs up onto the table and through his legs. The sheet is lowered, and when it is raised again, she simply stands up, a second before it is lowered for her reveal. Lovely. Finally, the trunk is open to reveal the other girl. Ends by showing off this arrangement of antique iron spikes. These are the same spikes found protecting medieval castles, haunted mansions, and Gothic cemeteries. They're all very sharp and very lethal. In the days of the knights, these spikes were used to impale dangerous lawbreakers and reviled enemies. Tonight, he'll use them to perform a perilous illusion with the help of this very lovely lady. She looks pretty dangerous, too. Pretty and dangerous. That's a combination that's perfect for a trick like this. He calls in the help of two male assistants in the event this girl is too much for one masked man to handle. As he puts her into a deep trance, the men lift her onto the tallest spike, balancing her precariously on its iron tip. The magician continues to conjure, being careful not to let the girl slip out of her trance. Ouch. The girl has been impaled by the spike. The tip has plunged all the way through her stomach, coming out the other side. This is a case for workers' comp if she somehow survives. Still, even pierced by the stiff iron rod, she manages to look graceful and gorgeous. Maybe this was the magician's plan all along. To stab a girl in the back by magic. What did this dangerous beauty do to deserve such a painful punishment? And is she past the point of no return? Let's find out. The men help lift her off the spike as she awakens from her trance. Finally, the girl slept through it and came out unharmed. And look at that. She doesn't even hold a grudge. Maybe women do like bad boys after all. But just because she survived looking as incredible as before doesn't mean you should try anything like this at home. After all, this was just an illusion, and they know the secrets. We just saw the masked magician place his stunning assistant on the point of an iron spike and impale her. So how did he do it? Here are the secrets. When the illusion begins, the magician displays the collection of imposing-looking iron spikes. The spikes appear to be deadly sharp and quite dangerous. But on closer inspection, we can see that the pointy iron tips are actually made of foam rubber. They look lethal, but they're really quite harmless. They're as soft and pliable as a bath sponge or a toy bow and arrow set. The center spike contains some bigger secrets. When the assistant is placed on the spike, it appears that the spike goes right through her beautiful body. But if you look closely, you can see that the tip of this spike retracts into the shaft. When the assistant is placed on top, the point simply sinks down inside the spike, which is really a sturdy hollow pipe. Beneath her costume, the assistant is wearing a special harness that rests against the small of her back and has a socket that fits over the end of the phony spike. Without her fancy dress on, we see how easy it is to make the magic happen. When the men lift her, the magician guides the socket to the top of the spike. From this angle, we can see the moment the tip retracts and the harness attaches to the pipe. While the steel pipe and harness support her back, the girl must use her tremendous abdominal strength to keep her shoulders and legs up. This is the result of hours in the gym. Next, when the magician makes his magical gesture, the girl appears to be impaled by the spike. But how? Hidden inside the spike is a spring-loaded piston which retracts into itself. This lowers the assistant down, creating the illusion that the spike is being driven into her. See? She's actually just going for a ride as the piston slides the pipe down over itself. There is a release cable that runs from off-stage to the base of the spike. Off-stage, a stagehand controls the action. The girl is loaded onto the fake spike, and the stagehand waits for his cue. The magician motions, the stagehand pulls the cable, releases the piston, and the spike lowers the girl. If you look closely, you can even see the cable as it's pulled. We're so busy watching the girl being impaled that we don't even notice. But if the girl and the spike are lowered at the same time, how does the tip of the spike appear to puncture her stomach? The assistant has a duplicate spike tip that attaches to a magnet on the front of her harness. See? It's just strapped on. Her careful timing when placing the tip creates the illusion that the duplicate tip is actually being driven through her. As she's being positioned on the pipe, the girl removes the extra tip from a secret pocket in her costume and conceals it in her hand. Notice that she keeps her hands directly above her abdomen until the tip appears to puncture her. This is to hide the fact that she's securing the tip to the magnet. Once the piston lowers and the tip is attached, all she has to do is let her arms fall and reveal the tip. The illusion that she is impaled is very convincing. But how does the spike appear to be its original height once the girl is lifted off? A hidden pedal operates a hydraulic lift inside the pipe. It works like a dentist chair, raising the spike back up. The assistant removes the fake tip and hides it in her palm as she's removed from the spike. All she has to do now is join the magician and accept half the applause for doing most of the work. And now, you know the secrets.
Next time, the masked magician...
The magician will use this large, open-sided cabinet for his first illusion. He walks around to show us that the cabinet is empty. Just to prove it, he climbs up the stairs and onto the platform. Okay, we get the point. He calls for one of his lovely assistants who happens to be wearing an incredibly fancy costume. A curtsy. How charming. She could coax the mask off the Lone Ranger with that outfit. Prom night at the OK Corral. It's elegant, but when it comes to the magician's girls, usually skin is in. I'm sure this outfit is part of this illusion, which originally thrilled live audiences in theaters back in the late 1800s. We can see that her fancy hoop skirt completely fills the cabinet. Fortunately for her, she doesn't completely fill the skirt. With the girl in the proper position, it's time to make some magic. The magician reaches up and grabs a cord that hangs from the top of the cabinet. The cord controls a shade that's lowered down in front of the young lady, but not all the way. As we can see, she's still there, and so is her scarlet red Scarlett O'Hara skirt. What could the magician be up to? It's clear he wants us to keep an eye on the girl, and so we will. He grabs the shade and lowers it, as his assistants lower the shades on the other sides. I'm sure the girl in the fancy dress is still inside. Let's have another look. That girl is gone goodbye. Fooled me again. Wait, there's our Southern Belle on the other side of the stage. The parasol completes her dainty outfit. Nice touch. She's ready for a stroll along the mighty Mississippi. Nice going, masked man. Now, show us how you did it. Okay, if the girl in the giant skirt completely fills the cabinet, how does the magician make her disappear and reappear on the other side of the stage with lightning speed? The secrets are as elaborate as her costume. First of all, this is no ordinary outfit. Concealed beneath the sash on the girl's waist are 4 eye hooks. 2 in front and 2 in back. These hooks are crucial to the secret. The shades are drawn to cover the top half of the girl. This is where the next secret comes into play. Attached to the ceiling of the cabinet are 4 cables. The girl releases the cables in order to attach them to the 4 eye hooks on her dress. Once the cables are released, she opens the sash to expose the hooks. Then she quickly snaps the cables over the hooks in front, then behind. She's careful to keep the lines taut while not moving too much. Watch. We can barely see her move. She now opens the back of the costume and prepares to slip out of it. This is one situation where a big skirt and a slender girl come in handy. She climbs down off of the back of the platform. Notice that during the trick she never seems to stop swaying her skirt. This is to hide her movement as she's getting out of the dress. From the front, her escape isn't visible. There's a secret here, too. A mirror, triggered by one of the other assistants, flips down into place and reflects the floor beneath the cabinet. From behind, we see the assistant release the mirror seconds before the girl escapes. Once she's out of the cabinet, only the suspended hoop skirt remains. But when the shades are raised, it's gone. Where does it go? The secret is in the false ceiling hidden in the cabinet. With the shades down, a stagehand in the wings activates an electronic switch, which sends the false ceiling down, crushing the skirt into the base of the platform. See? The ceiling has reduced that big skirt into a small pile of fabric. With the skirt apparently vanished, how does the girl reappear in the same outfit on the other side of the warehouse? Remember the stairs she climbed to reach the platform? They're part of this secret. From behind, we see the girl crawl from the platform into the hollow stairs, just before they're wheeled to the other side of the stage. Pretty sneaky, if you ask me. Once she's here, she climbs out of the stairs and into a duplicate hoop skirt that is waiting behind the prop steamer trunks. Looks like she's had plenty of practice getting dressed quickly in small places. The shades are raised to reveal the empty cabinet, and all the girl has to do is stand up to make her exquisite reappearance. She picks up the parasol as an added bit of dramatic flair and takes her place alongside the magician. The most sophisticated and overdressed assistant in the bunch.
Beautiful woman is speared by a spike.
Here's an illusion that dates back to the early 1900s. There are photos of Houdini's contemporaries like Howard Thurston performing the original version of this classic trick. The magician shows us an oddly shaped cabinet. He walks around to give us the view from all sides. It looks just large enough to contain a human being. The magician calls in his beautiful assistants, and one of them hands him a very sharp steel blade. Seems solid enough. Now for another. Smaller, but just as sharp, solid, and menacing. She'll save them for later use. The magician gets some help opening the cabinet. We can pretty much imagine what's going to happen next. Well, there's a switch. Instead of one of the girls, the magician has climbed inside. An assistant secures his neck with a steel strap. Next, a metal bar is lowered and two steel plates secure his legs. They really don't want him to escape. The doors in front of his head are closed, along with the main doors of the cabinet. The assistants now rotate the box so that we can see that the magician has not sneaked out through the back. Next, the girl with the sharp blades slides the smaller one into the cabinet at neck height, separating the magician's head from the rest of his body. There's a painful razor burn. Now for the large blade. She slides it into the box at the magician's waist. After a bit of a struggle. That's one way to reduce your metal. No pain, no gain. We can still see his legs, so we know he hasn't escaped from the cabinet or from serious injury. Yep, there's his head. But his torso has completely vanished. The girls open the doors on each side, and now the back. Gone. His legs are still there, no middle. Then his head. Looks like only part of him got out in time. But where did he go? And is the rest coming back? The doors are closed back up again so we don't have to look at this ghoulish mess. Now the blades are removed. First the big one, then the one at his neck. She's good at this. The cabinet goes for another spin so we can see that there is nothing tricky going on in the back. Let's look inside. There's his head, and his middle is returned. The metal fasteners are removed and the magician steps out. Still alive and showing no ill effects. Just like magic. But you know there's a secret. So, how did the magician survive one sharp blade through his neck, one through his gut, and his torso vanishing into the ether? Here are the secrets. First, the magician steps into the cabinet and the doors are closed. Before the first blade is inserted, the magician has already gone to work. Hidden in the top of the cabinet is a phony head, which is flipped down into position. From this view inside the box, you can see the magician reach up to release the fake head. From the front, it looks convincing. When the assistant is sliding the blade through what we think is the magician's neck, it's simply passing just beneath this false head. Next, we see the girl slide the large blade through the magician's waist. Hidden inside the box is a secret seat that is attached to the back of the cabinet and painted black so it can't be seen from the front. When the doors are closed, the magician sits down on this seat and bends forward, allowing the blade to safely pass just above him. From this angle, we can see that the blade never touches the magician. From the front, it appears as though he's still standing in place because his legs never move. The next secret is that the area above the metal plates is masked by sections of fake pant legs. He flips these into place to disguise the empty space and make it appear as though we are seeing his legs as though he were still standing. Here is the action with the cabinet doors open. The magician sits down on the concealed seat, flips in the fake legs, flips down the fake head, and bends forward to make room for the large blade. The girls reveal the head and then open the doors to show that his body has mysteriously vanished. In order to make it look like the magician is reassembled, the assistant first removes the blades, allowing room for him to sit up, hide the fake legs, flip the phony head back into its compartment, and stand up in preparation for his appearance. An updated version of a classic illusion, and now you know how it's done. First up tonight, the magician will demonstrate a classic illusion that has been performed on television countless times and in live performances all over the world. His assistants do a little dance to get us in the mood. Good job. But no matter how talented they are, he can always use one more. Here she is. Nice. She steps up onto the chair and reclines on a board that is resting between two other chairs. Now another assistant enters. This one is apparently repossessing the furniture. The magician places the girl in a trance as his other assistants wrap her in a sheet that was hanging down from the board. Nighty-night. Beneath the board, we can see that the magician is standing on a raised platform so we can see him work his magic. He does some conjuring, and the girl rises. The assistants remove the chairs that were supporting the board. She's floating in mid-air. Slowly, the girl continues to rise. The magician motions, and one of the assistants returns with a stainless steel hoop. The magician passes the hoop around the girl once to prove that there are no wires or other supports. She's really floating in the air by magic. He passes the hoop around her a second time, just to be sure, before the assistant takes it away. Now the magician commands the girl in the air to float back down. This is amazing. And we can see there are no wires. He asks the two assistants to return with the chairs. They place them beneath the board just in time to catch it before it floats all the way to the ground. The sheet is removed, and there you have it. A beautiful girl who can levitate by magic. So how did the magician make his lovely assistant levitate before our very eyes? Here's how. When the illusion begins, a board is supported on each end by wooden chairs. The assistant takes her position and is wrapped in a sheet. This sheet conceals the first secret. Hidden behind it is a steel mechanism that is holding up the board. The chairs are merely there for effect. Without the sheet, we can see the mechanism supporting the board and the girl. When the magician steps behind the girl and up onto the platform, his body hides the mechanism from view. But how does he make her rise? The platform contains the next secret. Concealed inside is an electric motor that is connected to a hydraulic piston powerful enough to support the girl. The steel mechanism is attached to the piston, which raises it into the air. The platform's carpeted top contains the next secret. 2 switches are hidden beneath the black carpeting. When the magician appears to be conjuring the power to levitate the girl, he's simply turning on the power to the motor. One switch causes the hydraulic piston to rise. The other causes it to lower. With the board attached to the mechanism, how does the magician make it appear that it's unsupported by passing the solid hoop around the girl not once, but twice? The secret here is the design of the steel mechanism. This S-shaped metal tube is connected to the board. On the first pass, the magician slides the ring close to the board and on the inside of the S. When he comes to the end, he slides the part of the ring that is trapped inside the S back around the other side. This frees the ring from the S-shaped support and makes it appear that it is passed completely around the girl. Careful choreography is all it takes to navigate the maze-like support while making it look nonchalant. Since the audience is busy looking for overhead wires, passing the hoop around the girl convinces them she is floating by magic. Even I'm about to believe it. Next, the magician steps on the down button, and the hydraulic piston lowers the girl back to her starting position. The chairs are replaced beneath the board, and the illusion is complete. Not so amazing. For this next illusion, the magician will use this giant cylindrical crystal chamber. This looks like something out of either a science lab or science fiction. For now, let's just stick to the facts. The magician opens the door to the chamber so we can see that there is nothing inside, and we can see all the way through. He closes the door and lets us get another look before the magic begins. He does a little bit of conjuring, and suddenly the cylinder starts to fill with smoke. Funny, I didn't think there were any places left where you could smoke inside. Wow, a beautiful girl. I know smoking is bad for your health, but she looks pretty healthy to me. I think I like this trick. Let's get a better look at that chamber. As the smoke clears, we can see that there's still nothing inside and nothing behind. This is one big empty tube. The magician closes the door again, and let's see what happens this time. A little wave, a little more smoke. Okay, a lot more smoke. And when the magician opens the door, presto, another beautiful girl. And there we have another amazing illusion. One magician and 2 smoking hot girls. So how does the magician produce not 1, but 2 lovely ladies from the smoke-filled crystal cylinder? Here are the secrets. When the illusion begins, the magician shows us that the cylinder is empty. But notice that behind the cylinder are some ladders and a black drape. Whenever there is a black drape behind a large magic prop, you can bet that it's hiding something. From the front, with the black behind the cylinder, it looks like we can see all the way through. But on closer inspection, we can see that the clear chamber conceals a black shade that divides it in half. With the black drape behind, the black shade is impossible to detect. Hidden behind the shade is the first assistant. When the magician shows us that the chamber is empty, he doesn't walk behind it. He conjures up some smoke, signaling a stagehand to turn on a concealed smoke machine which quickly fills the cylinder. As soon as our view is obstructed, the assistant releases the shade and seems to appear from nowhere. With no smoke, we can see how quickly the shade rolls up out of the way to reveal the assistant. Once she's out of the chamber, the magician is free to walk around back because the cylinder really is empty. But where does the second assistant come from? The secret here is in the base of the chamber, which is much deeper than it appears. It contains a secret hiding place that is just large enough for the assistant. Before the trick begins, she takes her place beneath the false bottom of the chamber. The other assistant must be careful to stand only along the edges of the base to avoid stepping on her. When the chamber is filled with smoke for the second time, the girl in the base climbs out, using the smoke to cover her actions. Here we can see her standing up. Without the smoke, it's much easier to see how she climbs out. All she has to do is step out of the cylinder for a breath of fresh air and join the magician while he gets all of the applause. It was done with smoke, but this time, no mirrors. And those are the secrets. Next, the magician will demonstrate his powers of mental telepathy. One of his lovely assistants will act as a volunteer. He displays a rainbow of colorful crayons and shows them to the girl. When you know the secrets. Here's a classic piece of close-up magic that some street performers present as a brand new miracle. The magician shows us an ordinary slip of white paper. As we can see, it's nothing special. As we can also see, his hands are completely empty. He sets the slip onto the table and picks up a box of kitchen matches. He takes a match. Just one. Closes the box before striking, lights it, and then lights a candle. This is a good time to tell you not to try this at home. Next, he takes the slip of paper and crumples it into a ball. He touches the paper to the flame and, whoa, flares up. But it hasn't burned. He unfolds the paper and it looks different. It's magically transformed into a $100 bill. A little warm, but still cold, hard cash. So how did the magician burn an ordinary piece of paper into a hot 100? Here are the secrets. When the trick begins, the magician shows us an ordinary piece of paper. First off, it's not ordinary, but more on that in a minute. As for the matches, they are ordinary, but the box contains the next secret. With the drawer slit open, there is a space to conceal something in one end, the money that he's about to make appear. See? It's a genuine, slightly crumpled $100 bill. Before the trick begins, the magician crumples the bill into a ball so that it can easily fit inside the end of the matchbox. This way he can show his hands empty at the start of the trick. He slides the drawer out just far enough to allow some room for the bill, which he stuffs inside. There it is. Here's how it works. When he's ready to burn the paper, he takes out a match, slides the drawer back in, and the bill slips into his hand. Here we see how he does it. There's the 100. With the money concealed in his palm, the magician lights the candle and prepares to burn the white slip by crumpling it in his hand. What we don't see is that he's actually crumpling the white paper around the 100. When he burns the white slip, the real bill is inside, ready to appear. But why doesn't the money burn up with the paper? Remember I said it's not ordinary. It's special chemically treated flash paper that burns instantly and creates bright flames. The 100 is unharmed. All the magician has to do is reveal it, and the trick is complete. But the real money is in knowing how it's done.
Up next, the secrets to...
The magician will now attempt a timeless classic, the floating zombie ball. He starts with this brightly polished chrome ball. With some magical gestures, he casts a spell over the ball, and then casts a black scarf over it. Suddenly, the ball begins to rise. The magical spell is causing the ball to float beneath the scarf. And now, it comes up for air. The ball rests on the edge of the scarf, then dips back down for another spin. He pulls it back, but it always seems to want to fly away. Better put it down before somebody loses an eye. Wait, now he's made it disappear. Or so we thought. It takes flight once more. Then he's able to convince it to take a rest. The zombie ball, one of the most popular tricks in all of magic. Okay, how did the magician make the shiny ball seem to float beneath that magic cloth? You know there's a secret, and this one is simpler than you might imagine. At the beginning of the trick, the ball is sitting on the pedestal and the magician covers it with a black scarf. Instantly, it begins to float, but not under its own power or some phony magic spell. The ball is actually supported by this black metal rod that's hidden behind the cloth. One end is attached to the back of the ball, the side you never see, and controlled by the magician, who secretly holds the other end in his fingertips. When the cloth is in place, he manipulates the ball by manipulating the rod. Wherever he points the rod, the ball will follow. With the cloth hiding the rod, it looks like the ball is floating under its own power. He can even make the ball rise above the cloth, as long as he doesn't let the rod show. From this angle, we can see how he makes the ball momentarily disappear. He simply points the rod backward, alongside his arm, and hides the ball behind his back. Covered by the cloth, he can slide the ball back out to the front and let it magically reappear. Once more around the room, and now you know the secret to the world-famous zombie ball.
Up next, the extraordinary...
Next, the magician will demonstrate a card trick with a dangerous twist. We want you to know up front, this is not something you want to attempt at home. His assistant will act as a volunteer. The magician begins with an ordinary deck of playing cards. He fans them, then shows them to his beautiful volunteer. Next, he invites her to pick a card at random and write a name across the face. I would have asked her to write her phone number. Wow, nice penmanship. The magician takes the card and does some scribbling of his own, drawing a line beneath the name. He shows it to the girl, And now he begins to shuffle the cards to bury her cards somewhere inside the deck. He offers the cards to her as he removes a very imposing samurai sword from its scabbard. This sword is very real, very sharp, and is what makes this trick so dangerous. He takes the cards from the girl and positions them in his left hand. With his right, he picks up the sword. He carefully slides the sword into his hand, balancing the deck on the blade. Watch as he counts to 3 and flips the cards into the air, stabbing into them. One card is impaled on the sword, wouldn't you know? There's the girl's chosen 3 of spades, complete with her handwriting. It's a good trick to impress the girls, but I still would have asked for a number. How did the magician find the chosen card with the razor-sharp blade of his samurai sword? Here are the secrets. He begins by showing his volunteer an ordinary deck of cards. She makes a genuinely random selection and writes a name across the face as instructed. They place it back on the deck. And the magician takes his pen and underlines the name. The first secret is that the pen contains a concealed razor blade. Cool. When he underlines the name, he's really slicing a slit in the card. There it is. Next, when he shuffles the cards, he's really using a phony shuffle that allows the chosen card to remain undisturbed on the bottom of the deck. See? There's her card. In slow motion, we can see how he's only shuffling the top cards, leaving the bottom card untouched. Next, he balances the deck on the blade of the sword. What he's really doing is sliding the sword through the slit he cut with the razor pen. He throws the cards in the air, and amazingly, the chosen card appears to have been impaled. Even in slow motion, we can see that the flurry of cards creates enough of a diversion to hide the one card that's already been speared by the sword. If we switch to another angle and freeze the picture, we can see that the card is pierced by the sword the entire time. Stabbing a card by magic is easy. Once, you know.
Next, the magician attempts
Will demonstrate his powers of mental telepathy. One of his lovely assistants will act as a volunteer. He displays a rainbow of colorful crayons and shows them to the girl. Next, he tells her to select a crayon at random as he holds them behind his back. She's not in on the trick, so she chooses of her own free will the green crayon. The magician asks her to return it to him while his back is still turned. Next, he instructs her to concentrate on her crayon, removing all other thoughts from her mind. He intends to use his powers of ESP to read her mind and deduce her color. He reminds her that his back was turned, so he had no way of knowing which crayon she freely selected. No, it wasn't this one. Or this one. But it was this one, wasn't it? Pretty tricky, and it was all using the power of his mind. Or was it? So how does the magician determine which crayon his volunteer chose? Of course, it has nothing to do with ESP. Here are the secrets. When the trick begins, he displays a handful of assorted crayons. They're all ordinary and unprepared. He asks the volunteer to select one at random, and it really is her free choice. She returns the crayon to the magician's hand, and he turns back around, keeping the crayons behind him. This is when the magic takes place. While the crayons are hidden from view, he uses the chosen color to secretly mark his thumbnail, then reunites it with the others. When he gestures with his empty hand, he sneaks a peek at the color on his nail. From his point of view, it's easy to see the chosen color, a green thumb. Then he does a little acting to make it look like he's trying to determine which of the crayons she selected. but he knows which is hers the minute he sees his thumb. It's a trick you can use on your friends, now that you know the secrets.
Coming up next, the secrets to the most impossible illusion of all time. His assistant gets skewered by an iron spike.
Here's a trick street magicians have used on national television to fool millions of viewers. The magician shows us an empty plastic water bottle and a cell phone. But there's no time to take a call, not when there's magic to perform. He taps the top of the bottle to prove that it's solid and that there's no way for the phone to fit through the mouth. He taps the bottom, then presto! The cell phone has penetrated the solid bottle and is now inside. And it looks like it's staying there. Hope nobody calls. So, how does the magician take an ordinary plastic water bottle and magically make his cell phone wind up inside? Here are the secrets. First off, the bottle has been prepared with a long slit along one side that's large enough for the phone. The magician used scissors to cut the slit before the trick began. See how his hand fits inside without distorting the shape of the bottle. He starts the trick by using his phone to tap the bottle to prove that it's solid and to convince us it hasn't been tampered with. Then, he quickly rams the phone through the slit in the side. Just that simple. Here it is in slow motion as he pushes the phone through the cut opening. Once the phone is inside, the audience never notices the slit. There's another street magic trick that won't fool us again. The magician will now attempt an incredibly dangerous balancing act in hopes of avoiding disastrous results.